Are we kicked off again? Oh, okay.
You do, but not the same.
Okay. So
What is our bulk water rate?
ours at our bulk water station is $15 per thousand.
So it'd be the same.
So,
Well,
but I do want to, we as a village would charge Riga $11.90 per thousand.
okay,
Their bulk water system is on it's part of their system, so they would set their fee. What I'm understanding is James wants to say that we don't want them to set their fee less than ours.
Correct.
then like $13 or $14, I
Right.
gotcha.
Right. Which right now they can't do, or they'd sell it for a loss,
Right,
which is what Mike has alluded to. But if we sell it for $11.90, then they're free to discount it over ours. So that's the only thing I would ask to be written in there.
Would you like to go ahead and wait until you see that written in there before we go ahead and make the motion and vote on that? Or would you prefer to go ahead?
And we can assign the language tonight, I think.
Are we all comfortable with that? Mike and Jerry, you're comfortable
yeah,
with
as
that?
long as it gets written in there,
Okay,
I'm fine.
okay. Well, then I would be looking, before I ask for a motion, please, I just wanted to address that Barb is on Zoom now. And Barb McHenry is allowed to have participation, but she is not allowed to vote for clarification. All right, so we're looking then for someone to make the motion, please.
Before we do that, I'll only mention the typo there on the 4-inch meter, it should be like 4-inch squared, whatever that is. Under flushing.
Danielle, do you know what he's referring
Yeah, I see that, I can get that corrected. I think it's the way that iCompass converted it for some reason, but I'll make sure.
Make a motion to approve the amendment as presented and authorize the village president to execute the document on behalf of the governing body with the amendments taking effect upon being fully executed by both Blissfield and Riga.
Second.
to? Tim has made the motion and Mike has seconded the.
Can I make a comment agree with the motion? Can you make it effective April 1st, because I cannot change the billing cycle. So if you can make that motion to be effective April 1st.
Okay, I'm not comfortable with all these changes that are taking place, in my opinion, right now. We're adding and adding and adding, and I'd like to make sure we know very clearly what we are voting on.
Yeah, I have some concerns too.
Yeah.
So one, the motion would need to be an amendment to include whatever language, otherwise you're approving it as presented. I get where Brandon's coming from, but I can tell you that my records indicate that the contract was not fully executed at one point, and I don't want to reduce their rate unless we've got that fully agreed upon contract by both parties. So what we need to maybe do is say like the first day of the month following full execution. That's our only leverage to get them to sign and return it back to us. If we just automatically adjust their rate, then they have no reason to sign and agree to it. And that's been an issue in the past, I think. I'm sorry, I know that complicates things more, but
I'm, okay, so would we withdraw I don't know what the appropriate words are, do we withdraw the motion at this time? Do we amend the motion at this time? Do we postpone this
so
motion?
you can either make a friendly motion to amend whatever you're looking for, or we can, you can vote on this motion, and then if it dies, you can talk about a new motion.
Can I withdraw my motion?
Yeah,
I'll withdraw my motion.
sorry.
No, that's okay, I'd rather make sure we do it correctly, okay. So the motion has been withdrawn. Do we know what the verbiage is that we want to use at this particular time, or we wanted to postpone this till the first meeting in March?
Why don't we come back with clear language addressing both concerns, yours and mine?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's why we talk about these
That's why
things.
we did it, that's exactly why.
And Brandon's, get the, for the billing,
Well, that's, so
that'd be hers as well.
Danielle's trumps Brandon's,
Yeah.
so to say, so to speak.
Okay, well, that's good, discussion is good, and we'll make sure that we have the verbiage exactly as we would like it to be, and it'll be presented then, and what is that date, Danielle, for that meeting?
March 14th.
Okay, so on the 14th of March,
2
then
weeks.
we will address this. Okay. Is there anything else, Danielle, I need to do for this at this particular time?
No.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go on to new business then, please. Looking at number 1, there's the resolution with the recommending the approval to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission for Shelley's Bar and Grill. Danielle, I'd like you to go ahead and address it. I believe Rex and Shelley are both here to perhaps discuss and answer any questions that we may have.
Yes, so per the Michigan Liquor Commission, the council is required to either recommend or not recommend a liquor license application. So they have a standard resolution form that is included in your council packet where you're able to do that. I would definitely defer to Shelley or Rex if they have specific details, but my understanding is that they are looking to have a restaurant in the bowling alley here in town and open that back up. So that's what the license would be for. I do also want to notate that I did talk to Chief about this because we had a few meetings ago, had a liquor license application come forward and I had requested that you guys make it contingent on a background check. We are not requesting the background on this one because of the license, the state will do a more in-depth one that would be larger scale and inclusive from what we would do. So it would just be repetitive at this point. So I just wanted to bring that up so that you guys understand why there's that difference.
Shelley, Rex, did you guys want to address anything to council at this time? You just come right on up, and that way you can just tell us what your thoughts are.
I'm just trying to open the bowling alley and bring it back the way it used to be. I'd like to see it be rich lanes again. I think Blissfield needs some fun, entertainment for the whole family, and that's what we're trying to do down there. So I don't know what else to say, but I'm here if you guys got questions.
Will you be in charge of the whole bowling alley?
I will.
I might just say for myself, my record is voting no on alcohol. I'm all for you having the restaurant, but I'm gonna vote no just because I don't use alcohol, just so you know. And we're still friends.
Yeah, I don't use it either.
Okay.
Anyone else on council have something that they'd like to ask at this time?
Yeah, I was just wondering if this is this a change, Rex, from the current license that's actually there with the property, or is this a new one or something?
There's a license that was applied for by Tibbs, the Tibbs Trust or whatever. They never went through with it because, and it was approved by liquor control. But they never went through with it. There were some issues with the former people that were there. They couldn't get licensed. And so I told them just to stop that, release the license. And my only position with it is the building owner. I know that Shelley's done a great job down there with the sub shop and everything like that. I know she'll do a great job there. So I went to her to see if she was interested in doing that. So there actually is a liquor license already issued there. It will just be she will be taking it from the next step and getting it opened. So, and I understand your position. I don't drink either, but there are laws made for everybody in the community. And I think right now with the stable closing and everything like that, it's probably needed in here. So, but I respect your opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution recommending the application be considered for approval by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission for Shelley's Bar and Grill located at 622 West Adrian Street, Blissfield, Michigan 49228.
I'll support that.
James made the motion and Jerry seconded with the support for the said motion. Are there any other questions? Okay, whenever you're ready, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
James,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yes, and the motion passed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Going on to item number 2, please. the appointment with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Danielle, if you could go ahead and give us that background, and Eric, I know you're in the house, so if you'd like to go ahead and talk perhaps. Danielle, if you'd like to start, please.
Yes, we had recently 2 resignations, almost back to back on our Parks and Recreation boards. We do have 2 vacancies. I did receive an application from Philip Bloom, who I'm requesting we fill one of the vacancies. The term would end December 31st of this year. And if you have questions, let me know.
Anything that you'd like to say?
Just to piggyback on that, I know Phil will be a great addition to our staff, so.
And you must be Phil.
I am.
Is there anything, I didn't realize that, my apologies. Is there anything, Phil, that you would like to address at this time?
No, not unless you have questions for me. No, I'm good.
Council, any questions for Phil at this time?
It's sweatshirt choice, but I don't know.
You can't
Wait a minute.
I couldn't believe you sat there and supported.
I was looking at his legs.
We're looking for that recommended motion, please, to move to appoint Phil Bloom to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
I'll move council appoint Phil Bloom to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for a term ending December 31st, 2022.
Support.
Mike has made the motion, James has supported, to move to appoint Philip Bloom to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for the term ending December 31st, 2022. Lisa, if you would take a roll, please.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes, motion has passed, and Mr. Bloom, congratulations.
Thank you for volunteering.
On to item number 3, the appointment of Dave Luce to the Blissfield Police Department. Once again, Danielle, we'll put it over to you, and then I'm assuming that Chief Greenleaf would like to perhaps address.
Yes, so as everybody is well aware, we have a full-time position open in our police department that we have been trying to fill for, I think, as long as I've been here. And we have not been able to do that. We currently do not have any applications. I know we've also discussed the large number of vacancies across the state of Michigan in police departments. We are therefore looking for a part-time officer. Mr. Luce was previously employed as an officer and is willing to work for the village part-time. We felt that this would be a good solution for the village. It would help to fill in that gaps in coverage. It would help to make sure that our officers are able to get adequate training that we've been lacking with the shortage. It also overall helps our budget with about a $61,000 annual savings. So we are recommending that we appoint Dave Luce to a part-time position within our police department at a rate of $24.98 per hour. We're looking at probably about 2 to 3 days. They do work 12-hour shifts. But if you have questions for myself or Chief, we will answer them.
Chief, this will get us to fill those gaps so we have 24-hour coverage consistently.
Yeah, we've been doing a pretty good job maintaining the 24 hours, but with overtime.
Right.
To give you some background, since Officer Rayburn left me last April, we've had some applicants, they didn't pass our background investigations, so there was nothing suitable for any council. Mr. Luce I've known for about 5 or 6 years. He's a good guy, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that he actually lived here in the village. He moved back recently, and I ran into him and we started talking. And even though he's retired, I was able to convince him to come back and work with us, help us out. And I know he's been a great addition to town. He's a really good guy.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
How soon could he start, Chief?
He's gonna start tomorrow morning if you approve it.
I'll move to appoint Dave Luce to a part-time officer. Blissfield Police Department at a rate of $24.98 per hour.
I will support that, Tim.
Okay, we have a motion made by James, or excuse me, by Tim, my apologies, and seconded by Jerry to move to appoint Dave Luce to the part-time officer position with the Village of Blissfield Police Department at a rate of $24.98 per hour. Anyone else have any other comments? Seeing none, Lisa, please.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes, and that motion has passed. So it sounds like Mr. Luce will be starting tomorrow. Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4, approve the Parks and Rec Program Coordinator position. Again, Danielle, I'd like you to give some background knowledge on that, and Eric, again, I'd like you to go ahead, and I'm assuming you would like to have some thoughts on this as well.
Sure.
Okay,
So, as council is well aware, Heather has resigned, who was doing both positions, as DDA Main Street Director and a Parks and Rec, kind of oversight. And this has been something we've talked about a lot, but that recent resignation has kind of pushed me into trying to do something sooner rather than what I had initially said is waiting until budget year to figure out what we could do. I've been working on this before even she resigned, trying to come up with some different ways, think outside of the box that we could make this work. And it's a challenge because of budget. At the beginning of this fiscal year, our recreation department or recreation fund had about a $1,500 fund balance. So not much money to work with at all. So what I am proposing as a possible option or solution is we currently we were paying $6,000 to Heather's position. And then we do currently pay a part-time, which is Eric, position of about $7,300. I'd like to merge those to the $13,800 to make this a part-time 15-hour a week position where this person can be our program coordinator. And I wanted to start here to really help doing some fund development to help grow this recreation program and see where we can get it, with the long-term goal of hopefully being able to get this to a 30 or 40. I don't know how many hours yet, because we need to see this develop and grow, but I don't want it to stay at the 15. I want it to grow. This is a little bit hard because based off of my recommendation, we would be eliminating the position that Eric currently holds to create this opening and to be able to fund it within our current appropriations and not increasing the budget at all. So that's kind of the difficult aspect of it. There are some other options that I feel I'm not saying I support, but I feel like should be brought up. Because of funding, there is the possibility that we say we just don't have the ability to have a recreation department and to do these different programs, and we eliminate it. Not saying it's necessarily what I would do, but it is an option. This is something I have talked to Eric about, so I did ask him to come tonight if he wanted to, and I would encourage him to provide any thoughts or ideas he has too. And if you guys have questions, let me know. And there is a draft job description posted in your agenda as well.
What other options were you thinking of?
Honestly, the two. So really, I mean, this is the difficulty is, and I don't want to speak for Eric, but Eric holds a full-time job. So this position needs more than what his position's currently been offering, and more than what Heather was doing. And Heather did a wonderful job. Eric does a wonderful job. So I don't want any of these comments to sound like they're negative against anything that they've done. But there's been kind of between the two a disconnect, and it would be nice to be able to merge that into one position that is able to really take charge and take the lead on this, rather than different individuals doing a little bit with a little bit of money and kind of going sometimes in different directions. I think that's been a challenge. And I think we do have the ability to really grow this program, but there's got to be I think that level of commitment to work towards that, knowing it's only starting out at this very small position and hoping to grow it. And my concern is with Eric holding a full-time job, will he be able to juggle this and get it to where we want it to be? Because I don't think it's fair to say, hey, quit your full-time job that's paying your bills and let's hopefully get this position to full-time or 30+ hours a week and ask him to stick it out through that whole time frame, because I don't know if it's going to take us a year or 2 years. But that is an option too, to say, hey, do you want to take on more responsibility and do this? And then I'll help however I can and how I have been. Again, the other option is saying our community can't support these programs. I mean, and that is, there are other communities in Lenawee County that don't have recreation programs. I mean, anybody with kids, travel programs are becoming huge, and it is harder to compete with some of that. I don't, again, necessarily support that. I think it's important for the quality of life of our residents to have a rec program, but it is out there. And then otherwise, I've been racking my brain and I don't know what else to do.
And nothing about this job entails the pool.
That was my question.
The new proposed one?
Correct.
Yes, it does. It does. Yes.
It doesn't list that specifically, and that's
It's
something that
not
I
listed
want
under the
covered.
essential job functions that I saw.
Okay, I, you know what, I see the work with aquatic center staff and the Parks and Rec board, so I'm going with both. I hear what you're saying.
I'm not saying this to cause problems. We can't afford both a DDA and Parks and Rec. Have we ever explored reduction of DDA?
Yes, so my understanding, and this was pre-me, so I cannot speak to it fully, but I did actually have a pretty lengthy conversation with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And they had indicated that the village has on numerous occasions talked about the Main Street program. So they've not necessarily ever talked about the DDA as a whole and changing that, but they've talked about the Main Street. So the Main Street program requires a full-time director be in that position. It's one of the requirements to remain certified. So if the DDA wanted to eliminate the Main Street portion and stick with just the downtown, they could do a part-time or changing in staffing at that level. It was even recently brought up with Heather's resignation, and I did do quite a bit of research, including that meeting, and I've prepared information for the DDA board that will be at their March 9th meeting, but I feel that it would be important for me to share that with the DDA board, and then I can share it with council after. I don't want them to feel like I've sent out this information and they've not had a chance to digest and look at it. So yes, it's been talked about before. I don't know to what extent, and it even recently came up.
Mike, not to put you on the spot, but you've been working with DDA for quite a few years. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I was the one that questioned, actually at the DDA meeting, what was the significance or the need to continue remaining in the Main Street program versus the DDA. Obviously changing the funding mechanism, if we got rid of a full-time Main Street director, the only thing that would benefit us being able to shift any funds would be the 10,000 that the village government contributes towards the DDA director position, and that's for economic development. The rest of that position's funding comes from the DDA fund itself, so we wouldn't be able to do a transfer there. Again, that TIF money is collected in the DDA district, that's to be spent in the DDA district. So I mean, it really doesn't solve the big picture problem. The other question is, do we want to continue that program? The Main Street program, Main Street DDA board, with a resounding, I think, support, wants to maintain staying in the Main Street program as well as keeping a full-time position. Do we reduce that somehow? Again, do we want to, rob Peter to pay Paul? Again, do we lose out on the economic, portion of that 10,000 that the village contributes? I don't know. It's how we weigh it. Again, it's a very challenging budget right now. So it is a good question. It's a valid question. I just don't think it solves the problem of what we're trying to do.
Which part doesn't solve the problem?
Of having enough funds to provide a full-time director, Parks and Rec director, sorry.
Yeah,
And
the hard thing is it comes down to numbers, and that's where So what I struggle with, and I guess another option would be that council says, hey, we're gonna go at this all or nothing, and we are going to supplement with our general fund the wages of a full-time position. So you do have that ability. The thing I struggle with is that our general fund, we're okay. We're not, I mean, we're not in crisis mode, but we're not far from it. And we have a lot of delayed maintenance that needs attention and a lot of capital projects that really, I think, has to be our focus, or we're going to start losing critical infrastructure. We're going to get to a point where it's going to become an emergency, and I want to avoid that. So I have a hard time recommending and saying we can sustain this, supporting or supplementing that department until then, because again, I struggle with how long will it take us to get to a point where we can manage or pay for a full-time position. And I think that depends a lot on who we get in this position. I think it depends a lot on the support from the community. I mean, if we get support and we start getting some really good programs, it could be as fast as a year. If it takes a little bit to catch on to some things, it could be 3 years. So then we would have to supplement that full-time position for the next 3 years.
And we've talked about this within the last 2 years regarding the same situation with Eric and trying, how do we fund it? And he's brought proposals to us on, ideas and programming that he could bring to the table to help pay for it. But again, I'm not in favor of that. I think as much as we want to balance it out to, get people to want to live here, the residents have spoken that they want us to focus on the infrastructure, the critical elements of keeping our budget within check. And again, I wouldn't be able to vote to say, okay, we're going to do a wish list that we could possibly build this into a full-time position and offset those funds for a year or two to make it happen. I don't think we're in that position to pull that off. And sadly, I wish we could, but I just don't think we're there. Looking at our budget, it's already, thin as it is.
So if we do away, and I'm just thinking here, if we do away with the Parks and Rec coordinator position altogether, who has oversight of the pool this summer?
So if you guys eliminate the recreation position, I would be over the pool. So I would supervise all of the staff, and then when it comes to the parks and the upgrading, like maintenance of equipment, things like that, I would work with Brent and we would build in to our capital, things like that. DPW already does the mowing, they do the playground equipment maintenance, things like that. So there'd be no, I'm already supervising Brent, but I would have to work with the pool employees. And again, even if we do this position at 15 hours, I'm going to have to do that with their help. My hope is that they can, with the 15 hours, they can really work on the programming and events. I'm still gonna have to pick up wherever we're short, because the reality is 15 hours isn't enough, but that's what we can afford to fund. But even with the 2 positions as they are now, I've been pretty heavily involved in the recreation. Even when Heather was here and helping to get different things and trying to be creative in ways to do some fun development. And we have we know it works because we've slowly started chipping away at that. We had our ice skating night, which was super successful event. For a 3-hour event, we profited about $480. We had just recently, Heather and Eric worked on the adult volleyball league, where we made about $1,500. So we can do things to make money, but it's having the person that can really help develop that and to spend some committed time to those programs.
And that's what my impression is, that in the beginning, it's going to take that time. And so from a financial standpoint, if you went ahead and you took your $13,800 and you divide it between the number of hours you actually put in, it's going to be a little bit of nothing. Okay, it's like a lot of other things that you start out initially, you've got to kind of pay it forward, and then you hope with more programs, then you've got the money's coming in. But you're going to put forth more effort now and hope that it pays off. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Because you're recognizing that the 15 hours isn't gonna cut it.
Right, and I'm hoping that's where I can really help to kind of bridge some of the gap and help whatever I can do. I mean, I have no problem like getting the programs up and going. Where I struggle is actually saying, okay, like, for example, right now I'm working on a summer program. I'm good making the contacts and getting everything set up for what that agenda is gonna be. I need the boots on the ground because I can't be there and do all of my other duties and responsibilities here. So that's where I'm hoping this person will help me to be those boots on the ground, and I'll still help them with all the administrative kind of background things that, and it's not, I would love to be the boots on the ground, but I don't want my duties to slack here either.
Well, that's my concern is the burnout. 15 hours, you can pull that off. You have a village to run. And the pool is a huge project and takes a lot of time. And we've seen that from what Heather had to do, recruiting the employees and keeping the employees and having a solid manager, and she was out there collecting money at the desk. That's not that responsibility. It shouldn't be that job position's responsibility to do that. And I want Danielle focusing on the day-to-day operations. I don't want her focusing her time on the pool. My only concern here is reading over this. I don't think it spells out the amount of work that goes into the aquatic center. Yes, this is talking about the recreation programming, the sports side of it, but I don't think it spells out enough the functions of running the aquatic center. And that either needs to be included in here, absolutely.
Is what you're referring to, right?
Yes, because I don't think if somebody read through this, they would understand how much time we need devoted to that aquatic center.
So saying that needs to be
And
added.
yes, and either it becomes that or we have a more dominant, more involved pool manager that may have to have a higher stipend or something like that in order to keep that position and fill that position properly, because again, we lost our pool manager in the same year last year and a couple assistant managers. So it's the big picture of how do we solve a lot of what we're trying to accomplish. But I certainly don't want Danielle putting 15 hours a week into the pool this year. We can't afford that.
And I think Heather thought when she was in charge out there, I think she thought it was gonna be easier than it was, and she found herself out there. There were a lot of Saturdays and Sundays I drove by and her car was there. I know I stopped a couple times on Sunday to load up garbage and take it down, because there's just a lot involved with that facility. And I'm concerned.
And that is a concern of mine too, because I mean, the reality is we're just staffing, I mean, everywhere. It is so hard to find help right now. So I mean, I share those concerns. I'm just trying to think, how can we somehow work to move this forward? And to me, the 15 hours of help is better than the no hours of help, or again, and Eric does a really good job with programming, but he's not here to help with some of those other things. And that's where we're just falling short. To me, I wanted to find a starting point and hopefully be able to build off of that. But I mean, it's hard because Brandon needs to find $10.5 million. So.
Jeff, you wanna take the floor and we can.
Let's see, where do I start? Programming, what are you guys looking to see in extra programming to make you say, hey, let's make this a full-time position? Because I mean, there's programs we could, for the staff and the hours you're talking about, that's not a ton of programming. I get it, we go a little bit extra and try to get some ideas, but we've did that in the past and we've added stuff, we've added different programming. What are you guys thinking? I'd like to know council's opinion. Parks and Rec has always been a self-sufficient department. Now we're trying to make money, so that's a little bit different than it's been in the past. So I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Is that something we want to go out and try to make? Obviously, we want to try to make money, but we always did that just to try to make sure we're taking care of all our bills and we don't have, we're not in the red. What are you guys' thoughts
I don't think it has to make money, but it has to break even.
Right.
We can't
That's
can't
what
afford
it
to
is.
do the things that the larger cities do, that Perrysburg do, that
Right,
nowhere
right.
else does it. It just, we don't have the funding to do it. So,
Right, and that's what we've done, we've did in the past.
and we talked about, the what if, how do we, like saying, okay, we're gonna fund it from the general fund for a year or two. Again, I think sadly, I think there's more critical things that we need
Yeah.
to focus on spending money wise.
And I'm not necessarily talking about making this into a full-time position, I get what you're saying, but where do we stop? And all this extra programming into a guy that's not even part-time, and I guess I'm not in that position anymore.
Well, we've already set the precedent, accepted that the pool's not ever gonna break even.
Right, right,
And
but
that
just,
would be that position, but anything above and beyond that, like the sports,
yeah,
the adult recs, that sort of stuff, again, they should at least break even, or we're paid for
right, which,
putting on the program as well as the administrators' fees
Right.
to make it.
Let me ask you a question, Eric. Do you foresee enough programs to ever fully fund a full-time position? I mean, you're
It would
the one
take-
that doesn't, so.
yeah, it would take, I do foresee that, but it would take a full-time position to make it that. I mean, I'd give extra, I do, to add programming here and there now, but we're talking a lot different to make it pay for a full-time.
Right.
And to do that on a I'm not even part-time, that would be tough. I do foresee, I mean, there's tournaments that you can run, there's a lot of money makers, different things you could do. But, and I don't want to sound like, I don't want to build the program.
Right.
But, and I'm interested, just to let you guys know, I work till 2:30 Monday through Thursday. I don't work Fridays or weekends, so.
Well, you're certainly gonna see potential competition coming down the line too, if the county goes through with this other large scale,
Exactly. Yeah.
recreation thing in Tecumseh. So, again, you can only provide so much and the community can only support so much as well, so.
And most of our programs are travel now. There's in-house programs too, but we travel, we have, in-house with the travel too, so. And we have, soccer, football, cheerleading, the stuff we've had in the past. And so,
And I guess that kind of makes me think of something else. So, I mean, technically too, we could say Eric stays in his position and he does spring and fall soccer, football, cheerleading in the fall. And we say that this is what we offer and we continue to break even essentially, and we don't look to grow it. I mean, that's, I guess, another option too, is we say, all right, we tried with Heather and this is where we're at.
We tried with Heather to fill the gap at the pool, being that it's the single largest investment in the Parks and Rec department. My concern is our facilities. Are we ever going to have the quality facilities to have a full-time staff? Now, bear with me here. If I don't like eliminating DDA, but I also think DDA is falling short on hours. There's no way that Heather Marks worked anywhere less than 40 hours a week. That was 50 plus easily. I think DDA needs help. I think the idea here is a hybrid between all those festivals and weekend activities that DDA puts on with Parks and Rec. We need strong leadership at the pool. We need help with Yuletide, with Movies on Lane, with all the other weekend festivals that go on to really make them successful. That's where we really need help. In addition to programming for sports for youth and adults. But I think once you get those leagues established, how they run. They run pretty well. Have we ever thought about, and I don't know if that's a possibility, but creating that sort of hybrid role to help the DDA director?
Yeah, I can get back to budget. So the DDA budget took a huge hit last year. Let me go back even further. So they, I think, were and again, I wasn't here, but instrumental through COVID in helping the businesses. They did some really good programs for our business owners. They had that gift card program where if you bought 20, you got 40. They just, a ton of resources. The negative and downside, they gave out loans. The bad side to that, or not bad, but the flip side is it depleted and really dropped their fund balance. And then last year, they took a pretty big hit and had to return some money to the school district and the intermediate school on tax money that they actually were supposed to stop collecting. So their fund balance is pretty minimal. They're trying to move forward some projects. So the last year and this year, last year they did, they're projected to run, spend more than they earned this year as well. The other thing, they've got a lot of different things going on right now too. Obviously the director position is open. The DDA TIF development plan and TIF renewal is up in December of this year. And they've set that deadline of October because of our fiscal year. So they've just got a lot of different moving parts too. So the challenge is if DDA, their budget is generated from those TIF dollars. So how do we say, okay, if we're gonna have this hybrid position, how do we fund that other portion of the position out of the DDA? And right now, we don't have that ability to do so. Because they're looking.
I just don't think we can support both these roles independently. They've got to work with each other.
Well, a lot of it depends on volunteerism, and that's been a struggle. I mean, sitting on the DDA board, you know, you get people that expect these things to happen, but they just want to, you know, reap the benefits of it and not contribute. And again, we're burning people out, and that's the problem. So, and you know, like you said, Heather can't be put in that position that Heather held. That was a lot of hours, and that was a lot of additional requirements to, you know, take care of the pool. And I think the DDA portion, the economic portion, did suffer because of that. So you make a very valid point. Again, it's just, you know, how do we operate within the financial constraints that we're limited to?
Yeah.
I guess the question would be to ask Eric if he's willing to accept that position, or if he's interested in it, or if he could pull it off with his full-time job. Otherwise, maybe we take a step back and we say, okay, do we revisit the manager, the pool manager job description, and maybe that person is expected to do more, receives the higher stipend, the 6,000 or whatever, but is expected to do the programming at the pool and fill in those positions or fill in those spots that what was it, the community service director was doing.
Right. Well, that was my impression when Darwin was here and how to receive the $6,000 extra monies, because it was going to be specifically for the pool. And I'm not complaining, I'm just stating the fact. She also went ahead and she did Parks and Rec material, but it was my impression she was going to only focus on the pool. And she did other things. Now,
Well, I think when we gave that to her, part of it was the pool, but I think it was the community services director, and all of Parks and Rec went underneath that.
it did, but I thought the bulk of that was to help us get through the pool season. That was my impression, even though the title was there for the parks and thing.
Right.
My impression was the $6 grand was towards the pool. Eric, I don't know if we all answered your question, but I know that I did not. So I'm going to answer it for you.
Sure.
Okay. When you say the part about what kind of programs, I guess what I'm looking for is, I remember that you had the Excel program, and I don't think Tim has ever had the opportunity to see it. And I don't know if Jerry or James did. I know I saw it when I first came on board. And I know that you had a variety of obviously programs to say. I would love for us to have all of those programs, but I don't think we're going to be able to implement them all at once, but you know that.
Right.
Okay, I do think it's going to be a matter of us having to go slowly but surely, and I think that it's going to be for lack of better words, not a professional, but it's kind of sucky in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a lot of work, and then it's gonna have to pay off in the end. I think it needs to be more than break even, I really do. I think it needs to make money towards pay for the person that's running, for the director, if you will. I don't think being status quo is sufficient. I would like to see helping to pay for the director. However many programs it is, what those programs are, I don't know. My question to you is, and I know COVID lends itself not to being able to give us accurate numbers, but like pre-COVID, what kind of numbers were there? Now there's COVID, and now we've got after COVID. Do you think that the soccer leagues are gonna maintain those kind of numbers? Do you think, you know, the cheerleading is gonna continue with those same numbers? Who knows, but do we have any thoughts on that?
I do, the soccer numbers were pretty close to pre-COVID numbers
Were they?
last year.
Okay,
Now, we didn't have a football,
okay,
but that was more due to class sizes, and you'll run across that every once in a while.
okay.
Now, I know next year we'll have plenty of kids in our travel football leagues.
Mhm.
So I see it going back to where we were pre-COVID,
So you see a demand still?
yeah.
Even with the travel teams?
Yes, yes. When I say travel teams, that's splitting games here and on the road. We do that
Okay.
in our older soccer, younger soccer, we're all in-house. Older soccer.
When you say in-house, you mean staying here in Blissfield?
Yes, yes, the 8U and below are all played here every Saturday.
Gotcha.
The older ones so they have competition, so they have someone else to play instead of the same teams every week. We
Yeah.
started that travel league quite a few years ago, myself and Dundee started this. And it gives us 6 or 7 different teams to play, and it's been very successful. And the same with football, we started football, 25 years ago,
Right.
and
I know that they're, I'm just going to my kids that are at school,
Yeah.
okay? So some of those kids, they're doing travel volleyball, but it's not associated with community ed or with the school at all.
no, there's different levels of all rec programs, usually not the high level,
Right,
are spending $2,000 to play in a travel league.
right. And when I say travel league, that's kind of what I'm thinking of, are
Yeah.
the big money leagues, if you will,
Right.
the 2 grand leagues.
So we're traveling, this league is traveling instead of a traveling league. so-
Understand, okay,
Service, to give them more of a competition, more of a,
okay.
In soccer, 2 things happen. The field gets larger, you need more players, but you don't have more players signing up, so you have fewer teams. So therefore, you have to go find other communities to
Right.
play.
and this year, we're starting a new thing, we're gonna review it on March 11th, we've already had a Zoom call with our other teams. We're raising the U15 to U16 to capture maybe that freshman also. So we're gonna try that and see what the numbers look like.
Mhm,
It might not happen, it might, but it gives us options to add more kids.
mhm.
So, I am very interested, I've applied for the DA position too, because I'm very interested in that also. But Parks and Rec, I've always, I've been doing it for a long time. And the pool, I'm pretty passionate about the pool, but like Mike said, it's its own beast. I'll be glad to help out in any way we can. That's right in the midst of your busiest Parks and Rec time too. And it is crazy, once it gets rolling during the season, it's not as bad, but
Sign up and everything.
Again, it's the initial effort and then.
yeah, but there's still follow-up, there's still, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you everything that goes on, a lot of phone calls, a lot of fixes. But that's okay, that's part of it, so, and I enjoy doing it. So, I don't know if, with the pool, I don't know if I have the answer, I think there's a lot of things. Could I do it? Yeah, with my hours the way they are, I could work a full day on a Friday and, I don't have a problem with that, so.
Well, to
But
Mike's point, I think we do need to find some sort of insulation level between Danielle and the pool. We can't have her out there. We do need a domino to fall here on this Parks and Rec coordinator position.
And it's a double-edged sword because in the past, we tried to set money aside for the Parks and Rec Department to actually have some sort of funding to do their improvements, to put on, to do physical infrastructural improvements that they wanted to do. And again, we've been challenged over the past, 10 years to pull that off. So again, sitting on the Parks and Rec board or the Parks and Rec board for me would be a struggle because it's like, well, why are we here? Because, I get hats off to them because they're very limited on the funding that they can do. They're very limited in with the resources that they have. So it's a challenge for them. Having that full-time position is going to take also away any possibility of helping the Parks and Rec board have any sort of funding to do anything that they want to do as well. So it's all about money, and sadly, it's what it boils down to. We just don't have it. We've got more critical things that we need to focus on right now.
And that's why we've always kind of been, let's make sure we break even, we do the Blissfield on tap. We break even, $100 ahead, that's a success for us. Same thing with the 3-on-3, we've been pretty successful with that. We got a lot of sponsors.
But that's not enough to bring in.
No, it's always been our goal is to make sure we don't spend more than we.
Right.
So.
Which we have done. I mean,
It's been done, right?
yeah, I do want to be clear on, we're not running this fund into the red, but our fund balance is $1,500. I mean, we're just not, we're to a point where we're either going to continue not running in the red, or we have to develop that fund to support that full-time position.
How are we doing with our employees and staffing of the pool at this time?
Not great. I have called every lifeguard that worked for us last year. I'm waiting. I've left 3 of them. I left messages with, and I have not heard back yet. My plan is to give them a little bit, and I'll follow up with those 3. And then I have 3 that are returning from last season, or have committed to returning. I am working with Tecumseh and Adrian. We're hoping to do a job fair at Sienna Heights coming up soon. Actually, I talked to Andrea today, who had a really good idea. I'm gonna maybe reach out to a couple of the lifeguards that are returning and see if they maybe want to go with me to that job fair, so that there's somebody that's done the job and a kid rather than some scary adult, and see if maybe that helps. So I thought that was a good idea. But if you know anybody, send them my way.
What is our ideal number that we were hoping to have for lifeguards?
I don't know what that number is. I know we were short last year. I've already reduced the pool hours, right? Because I'm overly concerned about staffing it considerably. Last year, we were open 69 hours in a 7-day period. This year, we're looking at approximately 39 hours. And that's assuming that we're able to do swim lessons. If, again, depending on staffing, I don't even know if that's going to be a possibility this year. There's just a lot going on right now. We do have a little bit of time. I mean, it is only March tomorrow. Our season starts the end of May. So I'm hoping. I've been out there recruiting. I actually, I even went to some of the high school kids in Tecumseh to see if they were willing. I'm like, I will carpool you guys, we'll get there. So I've been trying to be creative in different ways to reach out to people, but I would say right now I'm not overly comfortable with staffing.
And if I could piggyback on that, I've talked to a few of them too. I see a lot of them, they play basketball and stuff with us, and a lot of them are going to Sylvania this year to the pool down there, because one of the teachers in the middle school is in charge of the pool in Sylvania, so he's recruiting a little bit down there too. But on that,
It's a thief.
yeah, but on the other hand, I do know a lot of these kids, as James does too, and I am putting the word out there, hey, we need some help.
Is it a wage issue?
A little bit, but I get it. I mean, we're paying them what we can pay them.
Right.
And it's just these kids' time too. If they're in sports, they're almost screwed over because You
I
know,
think
they're,
that's
they're
the
lifting,
hard thing.
they're training, they're playing travel, they're,
Yeah, it's most of the kids that are lifeguards are pretty athletic kids, so they're already engaged in a lot of different things. And then, I mean, our target kind of lifeguard age is that 16 to 18, so they're taking family vacations and it is challenging. I think that that's been when I talk to them, what I've heard more than the wage has been I already have all of these things booked out for the whole summer with different events and things going on.
Danielle, if I can get with you tomorrow and look at the new hours and stuff, and maybe we can get a real heavy recruitment. I mean,
Yeah.
get some of these kids too, really hard, so.
And that was a big reason I called all of them too to say, hey, hours are gonna be different. Would this be better for you? And reached out that way.
What kind of hours are you talking about now?
They're on the website, but
Okay.
we're looking at, closed Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be 2 to 7, Friday is, 2 to 8, Saturday, I'm going off memory.
That's all right.
I think was 10 to 8, and then Sunday is 10 to 6.
That's
I
not
think.
horrible.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Not to drag it out, this is something we should probably talk at the committee meeting, because the public's not gonna like that, and I get, nobody wants to work, and that's sad. We have high schoolers that have other things on their mind, and they don't show up to work, or they call off, or they have sports or vacation, whatever, I get all that. But we got beat down last year for the rates, the hours, and I mean, if we don't cut if we're gonna charge people the same amount for the passes at a lot less hours, we're gonna hear that too, so, I mean, there may not be a happy solution to all of this.
Well, I think
but
after
it's something
speaking,
else.
after speaking with Doug, you didn't have swimmers before 2:00. We opened at 7 for morning swim, and there was one individual who would swim at 7, and then we closed for swim lessons from 8 till noon. And then nobody even came in till after lunch. So 2:00 is almost the perfect target.
And
start
we
time.
extended it later, because
Yeah.
that was we actually talked about this at the Parks and Rec meeting, so that was the feedback was mornings. The other feedback is they wanted to be open longer on Sunday, which was the busiest day, so we extended those hours, and they wanted to be open later, so last year we closed at 6. Yes, and we'll be open until 7 or 8 on Friday and Saturday to extend that, but I can't do much later because we don't have lighting out there, so I have to be
Evenings
aware
and
of that.
weekends.
So we did we looked at when is the pool being used and extend those hours to meet those needs a little bit better, rather than having that extended period in the morning where, like James said, we had one person doing laps.
But then we also need to put on that programming, the public, the village voted for this $2 million investment. They've been always supportive of the whole Gale Giles thing and having swim lessons and
What do you-
teaching people to
What do you mean
swim.
by programming?
Swim lessons, number one, is huge, and it's
And
always
hold
been
on,
here.
because depending on who you get licensed through, you cannot teach. You have to go and get an additional certification to teach
Correct.
lessons.
But
So-
to not offer those
Well, we-
defeats everything that the people that voted for this.
We don't
pool
have
done.
lifeguards that are certified to teach
I
lifeguards.
understand that, but we have to do that. That's what the public voted
Right,
for.
right. But we need to get those lifeguards
We built that thing to
certified
have.
before we teach the lessons.
Can I call a point of order, please?
Yes, you may.
I would like to get back to the program coordinator position. I don't disagree with either one
Yeah,
of
no,
you.
it's.
I don't think this is a good time for
Yeah,
this
let's talk about
discussion.
it at the-
I think we need to go back to. You're welcome.
Certainly.
But
Well,
this- oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Eric, go ahead.
Just to add my 2 cents, I would hate to see all of this work through the years, the rec program go bye-bye for what we're doing right now. There'd be a lot of kids, there's, through all the programming, there's, 300-400 kids that won't have anywhere to play, they'll have to actually go somewhere. And a lot of these kids aren't the big time travel rec kids and travel program kids, they're kids that this is all they got, so. What that's worth.
So this is almost a return prior to Darwin's theory. Right, this is returning Eric back to the position he held. And then taking the additional money that was paid to Heather and funding a more formalized position. Right, so this is basically the same budgetary outflow as prior to Darwin creating the. Right, is that close?
So, no, I'm saying that Eric, he would actually, his position would be gone. And you would, yes, go back to
Financially,
one
I'm just talking
position,
about financially.
it would be what you were paying under the Heather and Eric hybrid. I'm
Yeah.
taking those and merging that into one.
And that came together from Darwin
Right.
with the.
Right,
extra 6,000,
Darwin rearranged that.
The 6,000.
So, I don't know, I think.
Correct, we didn't have the 6,000 towards Eric's position.
But for lack of a better option, what else do we have? This is, we have to keep we have to do something about the pool, we have to keep this programming going. It's far too many kids that are involved.
So you are suggesting to
Yeah, move ahead with this.
move ahead with the 13,800 for the one person with this position. And Mike, you are suggesting, and Jerry are saying, but with the essential job functions, the pool needs to be explained clearly in that section.
I agree with that.
Yes, it needs to be added to that essential job functions, I would think.
And what all the duties are for the pool to be explicit.
Correct.
Hi, what are you thinking over here?
Well, I'm just thinking, is it gonna take 15 hours a week to run the pool in the peak season?
Yeah, there's just no way it's
Yes.
gonna take more, so that would be my question is. I mean, I did put that they would work with the pool staff, but there's gotta be another level of oversight, so to what extent would this position be involved with the pool? Are you guys wanting to see?
And the question I was gonna ask, is that 15 hours through pool season, or is that all year long, or how's that?
Is it an average for the full year
Yeah,
or
just curious.
where did the 15 hours come from, Danielle?
So what I did is I said, okay, total, we can afford the 13,800, so then I divided that until I got to, so at 15 hours, they'd make about 17.60 an hour. So I was trying to find that where they're not making $5 an hour,
Right.
but they're not making $35 an hour, and tried to find that happy medium. So we know 15 hours isn't enough. We know we need it probably at least 30 hours a week, but I can't afford that. So
That's what we were.
but it is my intention would be, it would be 15 hours a week year round, because we have those programs in the fall and throughout the year. And I would hope that it would be like, I'd be able to work with them, and, maybe one week they did put in 24, and then closer to Christmas, they put in 5. And have like a little bit of flexibility there, but where it would average out to about
Averaging
15
out.
a week.
Gotcha.
Eric, what programs do you run during the summer?
We do the soccer at all levels, that's our main summer programming. We do the 3-on-3 tournament, we do the Blissfield on tap, then
Right,
still in the summer, we run right into football.
right.
And that's all flag football, tackle football, just an idea too, pre-COVID here talking, because we haven't had a real good indication after that, 2019. I added up my hours, it was a little over 900 hours I worked that year. Some weeks you're working 50 hours, some weeks you're working 4 hours in the winter time. So just to give you an idea of kind of what, and that came out to like maybe $10 an hour, so just give you an idea. So I don't have a problem working hours, but I want it to make sense, so. I said, the pool's its own beast. Be nice to get a summer teacher in there and pay them and let us help too.
Let us help what you
But
need.
like, a teacher is offered the summer. Like Marquette does,
Gotcha.
run the pool. And have us involved in it, not just turn our back, it's be an advisory or helping in any way we can too. And the board, I think our Parks and Rec board needs to get a little more involved, kind of like DDA does.
Yes.
We've
You've
never.
already applied for the DDA position.
Yes,
So you wouldn't apply for this position if we go with this.
yeah,
You would apply for this one too if we created this one.
yeah, I don't want to, I'm passionate for both, but
That was just a question.
yeah.
Would council like to go ahead and postpone this discussion? I'm just throwing something out here. So we can have some time to come up maybe with some different plans for the March 14th meeting. I don't think that would be too late, but I don't know what your pleasure might be. Because I'm not sure if we're ready to make a motion at this time. Thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, I'm not hearing a lot of consensus, but we've got to come up with some solution.
What do you say there?
Yes, maybe postpone it.
Jerry, thoughts on that?
Yes, postpone.
And Mike?
Yeah, I don't think this position can do both. Parts.
So what I'm hearing us say is we're gonna postpone this to the March 14th meeting then, Danielle. And what,
Well,
go ahead, Jerry. If we have
I
suggested
would almost want to postpone it to the March
to the committee of the whole,
committee of the whole meeting.
so there can be more of a discussion, we can talk
Yes.
about that, focus on it totally.
I don't know.
Thoughts about that?
What do you feel about that, Danielle?
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, we brought up a whole host of
There was a lot.
issues.
Yeah,
But they all tie back into this exact thing. They all directly
Exactly.
tie back.
Would it be appropriate for us, Danielle, I'm asking, for if we have different ideas, could we email those ideas to you? I mean, that's
Yeah,
appropriate to do.
I'm open to any and all ideas, like I was just racking my brain trying to think of what was gonna be the most beneficial, but
If, let's
Yeah.
just pretend I have an idea, and I go ahead and I email you an idea. Do I CC the entire board, or do I just email the idea to you, and then we discuss the idea at the committee of the whole?
that's completely up to you.
Okay, I didn't know what
you
was
can-
more appropriate.
You can copy the whole board, but I do wanna caution council as a whole that if she sends that to you, that what you guys can't do is start then having an email conversation about that option, because that is a quorum.
But I
So
could go
you
ahead
can
and-
share and say at the committee of the whole, here's an idea I had, and then we can talk about that in the public setting.
Okay.
So
But that way, they could get the ideas out ahead of time,
yes.
so some thought could be
Yeah.
put out there,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah,
So-
just make sure you're not responding
Okay.
to that email with, that's a great idea, or it just, you can respond with another idea and things like that, but.
Okay, so that committee of the whole meeting is gonna be March the 21st, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna postpone this to March the 21st. And then if anybody has ideas, go ahead and email them to Danielle / the council, if you so choose. Do not reply to that email, but that way we would, again, I know I'm repeating, but that way we'd have an idea of what the thoughts would be amongst ourselves.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Danielle, thanks for working on that. I know you racked your brain on it, and at least it started us with some good discussion, so I appreciate that.
Eric, is there anything that you would
Just
like
have
to?
the chief go find another retiree.
Eric, is there anything
It would
before?
take me 10 months to find this one.
Is there anything before we, you heard us, we're gonna postpone and have a discussion on the 21st of March. Is there anything in particular that you would like to think about?
No, just the later it gets, I get it. The later it gets, the tougher it gets, closer to the opening days of pool, rec season, all that, so.
Yes. However, I think I think you
I get it,
understand,
yeah.
we are in a little bit of a quandary here, is that
Yes.
if we're gonna do it, we need to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Well, Eric, maybe you can bring some other than more of a formal proposal then.
Will you attend that meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty, I believe then we are on to the report section of the agenda. And Danielle, is there anything that you would like to address regarding your administrative report?
Not unless you have questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Danielle? Seeing none, I will go on to the water treatment plant report.
I'm only gonna mention again that sludge building. We put that thing in there to try to get that inert solids separated and not sent to the sewer treatment plant before it's not running for a year. It's getting frustrating for me. We gotta get that thing fixed. Because that's just gonna compound our sludge issues at the wastewater treatment plant, which costs us money down the line. So I know we
Yeah, we did
Then
get
deal
it
with it,
fixed
but-
and then something else broke.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I think what we're gonna do is try to get some engineers in. We gotta do something. We can't just keep throwing money at this thing. But yes, I agree. It's gonna be
What was
another
that plant
headache.
now, 25 years old?
that's the different
I'm not sure.
dewatering process, so that was probably, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years maybe.
Library report. Danielle, I know you and I had a brief moment to talk about that prior to tonight's meeting. Could you tell the board how this came to be, this report, please?
Yes, so the library board as a whole did talk about presenting to you guys some different things and or a report of some kind. So I had sent that to them. They talked about it at their meeting. Bob will start sending these reports to me. I will get them on the agenda. And then they won't have anybody present at the meeting, but if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know and I will be sure to share them with the board. And then if there's a question, follow up with whatever information I get for you guys. And then I am going to, I've been wanting to attend their meetings and scheduling's not been in my favor so far, but I'm hoping to make their next meeting this week, this Thursday too, so.
It was just 9 minutes, so you'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a question if on Danielle.
Yeah.
I believe it's on page 29, I think it's the last page. They've got down here patrons as of January 31st, 2022 of like 2371 adult patrons. Is that what, are they referring that to the year or is that their total amount of patrons? I'm just curious what that those numbers represent. They've got institution and then they've got juvenile. And again, they go down and they have things broken down to a total of 3221. Like, is that how many library cards they have out? Is that what they actually served last year? Just again, just questioning.
Okay, I will ask that question and let you know.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is council discussion. I'm assuming that's old news or?
This is the newly added thing where if you guys have things that need to be brought up to
Want to bring up,
discuss.
that's right, okay. Anything, James, that you would like to bring up at this time? Tim, old news, new news?
Nope.
And Jerry?
No, I just say hats off to the DPW during the snowfalls this year. I think they've done a fine job.
And Mike, anything in particular?
Just this is Jerry.
I said this year.
No,
Thank you. Public, does anyone in the public have something that they would like to say?
Just any update on the audit?
Great question, because Danielle, you had gotten hopefully the opportunity to collect that data that I think that.
No, I apologize. I'm actually still working on it. And only because I'm wanting to go back and make sure I was pulling everything correctly. So I will report on that at the next meeting. I'll have it to answer Jackie's question. And then to answer your question today, there's nothing new at this point.
So I'm sure you're making a note as well, Danielle, but so on the March 14th meeting, you'll have information regarding the audit and to answer Jackie's.
Yes,
question.
because Jackie had specifically asked about the exact total amount that we've
Yes.
spent so far, and I was making sure to pull auditors, legal and everything, so it's just taking me a little bit longer.
Jackie, did you have anything that you wanted to address, anything more with that?
No, thank you.
That's forensic audit is what you're concerned about, correct?
That's what I asked about at the last meeting.
Not
Not
your
only-
general
yeah, not only
yearly
how much
audit.
has been spent. And I was also confused and I wondered if you had, how much is unaccounted for? How much is missing, unaccounted for? Whatever, because I think that initially it was one amount and then they said it's more or whatever, but, you know.
And I cannot pull that, I don't have that can't be provided. So my notes were, and let me double
But
check here.
initially it was
Jackie.
reported in the paper.
But I can't confirm if that was accurate, if that's
They
the
found
problem,
more?
I don't know if there's
Okay.
less, if
So
there's
we just
more,
wait.
so. That's where we can't provide any comment to that and don't have the information. So what I had, I think was just the cost, but let me double check here, Jackie. Sorry.
Well, Raymond should be here within the next few months, correct? To discuss the yearly audit.
Yes, Raymond will be presenting the regular annual audit at your April 25th meeting.
And I think that'll be a good time to ask those questions because I don't think they gave us the answer that we were looking for last year at that time
They were
regarding
still
that,
looking to.
that 130,000 or whatever that was discussed but not discussed. I agree with you. That's probably the questions that we should be asking now.
Mike, was there anything else that you would for council discussion? I do have one, if I may, the RFP for the attorney, is March the 4th is gonna be the last date, is that correct?
Correct. The current proposals are due by end of the day, March 4th, this Friday. And then that is on the agenda for you guys on March 14th.
Okay, and then would my assumption be that the same people, Mike, Bob and myself would be the subcommittee for that said RFP?
That would make the most sense to me. However, council can do something different if you so choose.
May I ask, is it appropriate to ask how many firms have responded as of today?
Currently, we've received one proposal.
As of today, but they have until Friday?
They have until Friday, yes.
Okay, so, Mike, I guess we'll kind of wait and see what happens then. Okay, sounds good. And then there was something else I was gonna ask. Is it appropriate to ask Danielle the number of applicants that have been received for the DDA Main Street position? I know that deadline is,
That deadline is also Friday, March 4th.
thank you.
It's a busy day, apparently. We've so far received 3 applications.
Okay,
I have also talked to 2 other individuals who have stated that they're interested in applying, but I have yet to receive any official application from them.
okay. Those are the 2 questions I had.
I guess, yeah, one more quickly,
Certainly.
how the discussion with Meyer and with the contractors going and how the production's actually moving along. Again, we've had quite a few.
Are you trying to get my blood
Sorry,
pressure?
no.
That's,
I don't want to drag it out, but
no.
that's, if you want to do a report or something, that'd be fine too.
So just really quickly, that they are still working. We have run into numerous additional issues. I just am so frustrated with this project. To date, they've not officially responded to the last communication, the last official letter I sent them saying, we're not giving you $600,000+. No, for numerous reasons. So that part's not being addressed. We did just recently run into an issue with the concrete out there that was installed in the UV chamber and the building. They had put chloride in it, which our contract specifically excludes that from being used. So we're working through that right now with the structural engineers and having it tested I will definitely, I didn't put it in my email last week because I don't know how much is in there and what exactly that looks like. So we're working through that because my stance is it needs to be installed per specs, or I don't think we should accept it. We wrote those specs for a reason. And then we have also ran into some issues. We'll have another meeting, a special meeting this Thursday at 10 a.m. We have the new generator, and then we have our old MCC panel. So what happened is the engineers did load calculations for when the plant is new and running, but what they didn't do, or where we missed, is that right now through construction, you have new components and old components running, which overloads the electrical system. So we have a 200 amp breaker, we need a 400 amp. So Thursday, I'll have some more information on that. So you guys are actually gonna probably, I'm very sorry ahead of time, get a lengthy weekly update this week with some additional information on that. But I'll continue to work through it. I try to keep you guys posted. I don't like to do it right away because I don't want to be like, hey, 911, I don't have any information. But we'll continue working through it. And I mean, unfortunately, my position is at this point and is going to remain that we need to protect the village, and we're paying a lot of money for this project and they're going to do it right. So hopefully we'll continue to overcome every obstacle that comes at us.
Are you letting Eagle know the issues?
Yes.
Every time that something like that.
In fact, thanks for mentioning Eagle too. I also did reach out to Eagle. I don't know if you guys recall, but before I had talked to them about an extension. So I've been communicating with them regularly, and then I did email them last week and requested that we set up a meeting. We had initially said we were gonna meet end of March, beginning of April, and as you guys know, I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. So I reached out and said, hey, let's get this on the calendar now ahead of time so everybody's there. So that'll be coming up. It sounds like with their schedule and my schedule, it's gonna be best that when I return, that'll be one of the things that we do. So we'll talk about in that meeting, what we've accomplished since the last time, what our schedule looks like, a possible extension, and some of those different things. And again, I will share any things that I learn at that meeting with you.
But you're also, as Mike is alluding to, you're sharing with Eagle all of the concerns that you're having as well.
Yes, we communicate with them and USDA regularly on, everything. Because I mean, and I do USDA because there are funding, so they're aware of that. We have a special monthly meeting where they can join if they want to, things like that too.
If no one else has anything to say, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
James has made that motion to adjourn. Mike has supported. And if you would, Lisa, please.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yes. Meeting has adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Jerry, if you ever pull a point board on me again,
I do it.
it all leads back to that.
I know, yeah.